Hello and welcome to our International Women's Day pop-up, Impact Over Noise. I am your host, Jill Olish of Mama Outspoken. I want to say thank you so much to Kim White and the My Sexy Business team and community for holding this event each year and the opportunity to host it. Today is about women whose work lands and not just women who are loud. We're celebrating the builders, the steady ones, and the behind the scenes powerhouses. So I'd love to tell you a little bit more because the beautiful thing is here that we have some of those powerhouses that I know right here with me today. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching, whether you are watching live or catching the replay. And thank you to our guests today. I am so grateful to be joined by first Kat Corchado. She is a proud Air Force veteran and midlife movement specialist with over 40 years in the fitness industry. She is the founder of Small Space Pilates, Fit for Life Alliance as well, who that has transferred into an online community where women can get fit and fabulous through flexible online classes and an on-demand video library, all from the comfort of your own home. Kat is also the creator of the annual Revitalize Your Midlife Symposium, the 11-minute fitness It's 11-minute fitness challenge. She said workout, but it's a challenge. And she is the host of the Sisters in Service podcast, featuring honest conversations with military members, veterans, spouses, and veteran service organizations. We also have Denise Millay. She is a mom of two amazing adults that light up her life every day. She is also the founder of M Media Group, a search marketing consulting firm for entrepreneurs and business owners. She is also a podcaster, author, and roving reporter for the weekly show, Good Morning Entrepreneurs. Denise believes every entrepreneur can tap into the enormous audience using search engines every day so they can bring more viewers, listeners, and visitors to the content created for their business. We also have Kim White. She is the founder and fierce leader of the My Sexy Business team and community, known for her no-fluff, heart-forward approach to building sustainable business. She equips entrepreneurs with practical strategy, real accountability, and a supportive community so they can grow without sacrificing their values or personal life. So I'd love to invite each of our guests up to stage. So I'm going to do that now. Welcome, guys. And let me get y'all in a nice, straight, pretty line that we have set up for you. So again, I'm so happy to have you guys joining me on stage today. And I'm going to jump right in and give you each a chance to share a little bit about yourselves before we get into some conversation. There are just 3 things that I'd like to know from each of you. First, who you are. Second, who you serve. And third, one woman who quietly impacted your life. And you know what? We'll just go across the screen because right next to me, Kim, if you wouldn't mind going, and then we'll go to Denise and then Kat. And then the rest of the conversation, we're going to go ahead and popcorn around. And whoever wants to answer. Okay, guys?
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for doing this. I am Kim White. I am an Oklahoma princess, and I am serving every day, intentionally serving, especially women who think that they can't do business, or anyone who thinks they can't do business based on they're judging themselves. I'll just say it that way. One of the most impactful people in my entire life was my nanny, which was my mom's mom, so my grandma, but my nanny. She impacted me, teaching me about collaboration and community without saying a word of those 2 things. She did it by example, not by being loud.
Ooh, Denise. Hold on before you keep
I
going.
know. I look cute on mute. I know. My name is Denise Millay, and as Jill said, I am a search marketing consultant. I help entrepreneurs and business owners out there who are just starting out understand what SEO is and apply it to their business so they can get all the benefits of getting people to see their things in search engines. So that's pretty much what I do, and that's my audience. Inspiration, my grandmother, my mother's mother, She was a force to be reckoned with, a quiet force, but she blended her passion, which was growing things in her garden, into everything she did quietly, and that gave her her strength. So she did tons of other things, but you always knew when she was happiest was when she was in her garden, and that really stuck with me and has fueled my desire for art in everything I do.
I love that, Denise. Hello, everyone. I am the freaking fabulous Cat Corchado, and I have two passions: veterans and fitness. And those are the people that I serve. Anyone affiliated with the military, whether you are a military brat, military spouse, active duty military, a veteran, or veteran service organization. And also, I've been in the fitness industry for a while, and I want everyone that I meet to feel good in their body. And I think the one person that I can think of who inspired me, which I didn't realize at the time, was my Aunt Dorothy. At a time when, back in the late 60s, early 70s, when everyone was getting married, having kids, doing those things, she chose to have a career. She chose to not get married, and she chose to break those barriers that people expected of her. So when I think about, anyone that I admire in my life, unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but that's the person I think about.
Awesome. I love hearing about these women who have quietly changed everything for each of you. And I'll jump in with mine because I didn't even think about including myself here. But I am Jill Olish. I help serve moms, mothers, parents, families going through postpartum seasons, and that's who I serve, is those moms who are going through probably one of the biggest life transitions as becoming a mom. And it's also who was one of my quiet, impactful women was my mom. The strength that she had to survive some incredible illnesses throughout her life have been the driving force for me to survive something pretty intense in my postpartum journey. So here we have it. So it really highlights these women, something that we don't talk about enough: the pressures on women to be louder instead of actually being more effective. And you each have brought to the table someone who is actually more effective than being loud. And I love that we've all have that in common. So I want to start there for us as some place to talk about. I'd like to ask us, where in your life or your business have you felt pressure to be louder instead of more effective? You know, we all got to think about this.
Everywhere. My marriage, married to a type A extrovert, and I'm an introvert. My business, where everybody screams for people to be on stages and speaking, and my work environment, I am the quiet force. I am the behind the scenes force. And I feel like I've always been pushed forward to go more in the front. And obviously now as an entrepreneur, I really need to be there and I want to be there. But all my life, I feel like I've been having people drag me there, whether I wanted it or not. So.
I think when I was in the military as a single parent, I felt I had to be loud because there was a stigma about single parents in the military. And I felt as though I had to speak up. And to speak up to advocate for my son, I felt as though, why don't I advocate for myself? So I felt as though I had to be loud in order for people to understand that, yes, I'm here, but I'm not going to be walked on, trampled on, etc. So speaking up for myself at that point was huge for me.
I think one of the probably perfect examples is going into an industry where there were no women and feeling like I had to do something to, be seen and heard, and then coming to the realization that actually the quiet was a good thing. They underestimated me, and that was their biggest problem. I'll just say that. So I think being loud is not effective when it's not for an intention. But I think that that powerfulness that we all have as women, I think it does show up when we get very intentional and very determined.
Yeah. The pressure to be loud is feeling like we can't, like you said, Kim, that we're in a male dominated industry, or that we are not equal to everyone else. Like Kat, you're saying with being a single parent, it's some stigma. And then we feel like we need to lift ourselves up to match what everyone else is doing, instead of what we've been learning individually in the community that we've been in as part of My Sexy Business is, to be living proof of the quiet, of people who are actually doing things the right way in not just business, but also life, and being examples of how it can be instead of how others are perceiving it should be, where it's more pressure for us to be just noise, to be not so effective then.
Yeah, Jill, I feel like it's one thing to be loud for being loud's sake. It's great to be loud when you believe you need to be, and where you're doing something you're passionate about. It's great to step forward into that light. But being pushed to be loud just to be loud and to be like everybody else, I think is the hardest part.
Time for soapbox and other times.
Well, I feel too that sometimes I'm not a quiet person.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And but there are times when I feel, as I've gotten older, when someone would say something and I'd want to jump in, and I'll say, wait a minute, let's just listen and see what this is about. So I've learned to be a little more patient with myself in hearing the whole story instead of wanting to jump in immediately. But again, it's hard for me to be quiet because I'm not a quiet person.
But your loud, Kat, can be used in different ways. And that's what you're becoming aware of. It's like, yes, you have a loud, booming voice that's part of your personality, but then you're recognizing the places where your personality doesn't overtake what the purpose of what's being said in certain situations. So, that awareness is power for us and recognizing that, because we can still be our vibrant, boisterous selves when we're communicating. And then what kind of stuff are we putting out there that is taking it to a whole nother level that's not effective?
I have to giggle because I don't think of Kat as loud. Like, I don't think she is like a loud person. I do think she's excitable. I'm very excitable and I'm very loud. I do have a loud voice a lot of times, but it is that excitable about life, excitable about what we're doing, excitable about whatever's going on. And I think that kind of loud is lovely. It's the loud that we just want attention, and there's no intention behind that attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kim, with you saying that, where there's intention, we could kind of call that quiet power then. We're quietly doing things in a powerful way. So what would that look like for each of you personally? What is a quiet power? I think, I'll go ahead and jump in. So that way, I think for me is been what I've been learning in being living proof. I may not be able to post as much as I would like to on social media or the right things. Right now, as I'm 5 months pregnant today, and I have to shift how much of me I'm giving out to the public, how much of me is put out on display, because I need to save energy. I need to grow a baby. I need to put things first. I need to be ready for in a few months when I have another child, that I'm not over working myself and I'm setting a precedent. So that's a quiet power for me, is setting a precedent that not all moms need to put themselves all the way out there in their businesses, that they're finding this harmony between all their pieces of their lives, all the roles that they play. And by kind of announcing in a way, like to my people who follow me, who are in my community, that I'm making this shift, just sets an example for them that that's something I'm quietly doing. And I'm not putting it all out there that, everyone else has to do this too, but this is how it's going to work for me, because this is how I feel that I can be aware. I can be more intentional with people. So that's my quiet power right now, is acknowledging the seasons that I try so hard to not have to go into, because I want to be a workaholic, but am trying to honor more as my life changes. That's my quiet power now.
I think you're living proof of what quiet power is, Jill. Even before this, even before this season, you adjusted to, your older boy's schedule, and you've done things that were hard because that wasn't the path you thought you would take.
Yeah.
And I think watching you go through those things is that quiet power that we all can draw from each other, instead of the, hey, look, I did all these things. And, you've concentrated on the right thing, which is your priorities. You've majored on the majors, not majored on the minors. Mm-hmm. So I think that's an example of quiet power.
I think having quiet power is being intentional, such as having a day in your life when you've chosen this, you're intentional about it, where it's just your day. And I think quiet intention is, when I feel I am talking about something that I know a lot about without being a know-it-all. Does that sound like when I know that I'm right about something? I'm not a right fighter, but there's this quiet intention of, doing this instead of this, and here's why. And then people go, oh, got it. So I think when you know what you're talking about, you're not just, how do you say, Kim? You're not all knowed up and you think you know everything. And, just understanding where people are and meeting them there, and them understanding where they are and where they can go from there.
Wow, I love that, all knowed up. That just hits right here, because we all know so many of those people. I think my quiet intention is allowing myself to be out there and presenting what I do know, which is a lot of knowledge, but then quietly allowing myself not to feel like an imposter when I still have a lot of other things to learn. And I think that's hard for somebody who's lends to detailed perfectionism like I do. So it's very hard to not feel like a fraud, because there is a lot that I don't know still, but I'm still sharing what I do know. So I think there's that kind of paradox there that I quietly am trying to maintain.
Denise, can I just say that you probably know so much more than most people about what you do? So you may not know everything, but we don't know what you don't know. We just think you know everything.
I see that in all of you. Kim calls it parroting. You guys aren't going out saying you know something. You are knowing when to go ahead and stand your ground, when you are firm in what you do know. And then when someone's not taking it because they are all nulled up, you know when to be quiet and let them go ahead and bump their heads. Or that, not being able to answer a question saying, I don't know, is okay. I think that's quite powerful for us too, instead of trying to go ahead and say something that we're not really familiar on or sure of, and not actually helping someone out. So I see exactly what you guys are talking about in each of you. But yeah, that quiet power it's loud, and that's what we want that noise to be, is that stuff that emulates through us as we are are working, as we're having conversations and building relationships, because that real power often doesn't look flashy in the moment. It looks like, Denise, what you were saying, it's hard work to not go ahead and do the things that we think we know, but like realize we need to learn a little bit more. And that impact can come from very small, ordinary actions that we repeat over time. So those small, ordinary actions aren't just one time, they end up rippling into other aspects of our lives, of our businesses, and into our relationships as well. Where is some place that you have underestimated your own impact because it didn't look big or public?
I can tell you that was when I was raising teenagers. Like business and parenting, as you always compare, Jill, they have similar things. And when you're parenting teenagers that are, they are all knowed up most of the time, we suddenly become not smart to them. We suddenly have all these things, but we maintain how we have been raising them. We maintain our beliefs and continue to believe in them and continue to trust them and continue to, trust and verify, I will say. But we continue to be the parent that we're intended to be. A lot of times you don't see any good in any of that until years later. Mm-hmm. And I think having those same teenagers come back to you later and say, I'm so grateful you did this. Even though I was mad at you when I was a teenager, I'm grateful that you did this because this helped me become this. And you can fill in the blanks for your own selves as far as, I think we all impact people that we have no idea in the moment. It's not until later. I think this is where evidence comes into play. You definitely need to keep evidence of something that you have impacted someone, so that when you are questioning why in the world you're doing any of the things you're doing because it doesn't feel like you're impacting anyone, you can go back to that file and say, oh yeah, this person said this to me. This person sent this message or this letter or whatever it is, so that we remember that. Because raising teenagers is not a week-long event. I just want y'all to be aware. It's a long-term commitment, y'all. I'll just say that. But having that ability to hear also, it's embarrassing to me to hear someone say any accolades. I'm always I pull back. But the reality is all of us need that. All of us need that confirmation of, hey, you are doing a good job. I learned this from you. I watched you do this, whatever it is. And they're not giant heroic acts. They are the everyday things you're talking about, Jill. They're the, not running away from home yourself when you have teenagers. That's a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I have a lot to learn.
I think of being a consultant with my corporate world, and I chose to be a consultant unbeknownst to me, because I liked the changes and I liked helping people. And that's the quiet thing that felt good, even if the jobs themselves were killing me or dragging every ounce of life I had in me out of me. I always felt like the people I was helping, the ones who quietly said, oh, I understand that, or, oh, this makes things so much easier, or, oh, I don't have to go searching for hours for this, or, this surgery went so much smoother because this was set up right, that kind of thing. It feels good. And you don't really need someone to say, this is all because of you, it's just, it feels validating. It's the validation that what you're doing is purposeful, and it does have an impact. And that's all sometimes you need.
To answer this question, I think I have to think about my clients when they first come in, whether it's Pilates or weight training or whatever it is. And it's believing in them and believing in myself that I can get them to the point where they want to go. But in the meantime, it's a journey. When you take a trip and you're going through, there's fields on this side and fields on that side, and there's nothing to look at, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get there to this destination. But then when they get that aha moment where they go, oh, you mean this? And it's like, yes. So it's not so much my win as it is theirs, but it's validation to both of us that what they're doing is working and what I'm telling them is working. But I think that's, I don't need a pat on the back, but it's nice to get that, okay, we're on the right track.
Right. We kind of get that a little bit of a confidence boost because we know we're on the right track, like you said. But also a lot of times that doesn't come immediately, like Kim and Denise, you said. We're not getting that affirmation that there was some kind of an impact until years later. And we don't even really get to know it because someone said it to us, but because of how we've changed or we saw someone else change because of what happened. And I get to see that watching each of you work too. Like Kat, I do get to see, Kim comes in and says how much her life has changed because of working out with you. Denise, I get to see like some of our friends like Adam Rothenberg, how much his website has improved from working with you. And then Kim, how many countless clients and masterminders have been through the My Sexy Business doors who have had their businesses change because of you. But, who's really coming up and saying this happened because of you. And I know for me, in a spot where I did not expect impact I didn't expect impact in the way that it came, was getting to share my postpartum story at a postpartum awareness event that was hosted by my county, which had mostly medical professionals there attending it, and not too many moms that you could see that were there just to get information. And I did not expect to have someone come up after me and say, I thought you were telling my story. So to get that kind of a response was surprising. I thought I was going to get like, oh, come and join us here at this, like the accolades of you need to come share on our stage now. And so the impact sometimes doesn't show up in the way that we're expecting it to either. It can be a completely different shift for us too. Being that I just said that, sometimes we're not seeing that impact. Sometimes it comes in a totally different way. And sometimes we don't hear it at all. How do you guys keep going when you can't see the results of your impact yet? Because I know for me, I just have to keep trusting what I keep hearing in my mastermind group that, as long as one person is impacted, that's all that really is matters. Like one life, it can have that ripple effect. And that's what I just keep telling myself is, I did all these things to share my story, put myself out there to show that I'm living proof that you don't have to do things the hard way. I don't know. Sometimes I get likes, sometimes I get comments, sometimes I don't. So I just keep doing it because I know it's even helping me help others.
I think for me, it's about the passion. The passion is still there for it. And that gut instinct that just tells me to keep going. Mm-hmm. Because, anyone who's been in business or is in business or is starting their business, there are days when you go, I quit. I'm done. I'm all set. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you come back the next day. And so as long as that passion is there for me, that gut instinct of, I use that a lot to steer me in one direction or another. Like I'll say, wow, that's a great idea. And I'll write it down. And sometimes I get ideas and I'm like, oh, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. But it's that gut instinct for me and that passion.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's a roller coaster. And there's some days that I'm really good at it. And other days where I have to remind myself a lot. But I think what I keep coming back to is what I knew when I started, was that I did have a different perspective that was valuable, that is going to help people. And we're all service oriented. We're all heart-centered people. We don't do business just for business sake. We're doing it because there's something we believe in strongly. And that's what I go back to. I go back to the fact that there are a lot of people that are being told they can't do something and they can't understand something, and it's not true. They just haven't been told the right way, or they haven't been had it explained to them. And that is very true. So no matter what I do, what works or doesn't work, what goes out or doesn't go out, that is still the core is still there. And I think that's what, fuels me.
Can I just add in that all of us we didn't reinvent the wheel with business. And there are a lot of people doing the same things that we're doing in business. But I like to call whatever we do, whatever we bring to the table, is our special sauce. We all have that secret sauce that we bring that maybe someone else doesn't. And someone resonates with you, Denise, or Kim, or Jill. And they're saying, okay, this person did this over here, but Jill does it this way. And that's your special sauce. So I think as long as you bring your special sauce with you, don't ever leave it behind, bring it with you, I think that you'll be great.
Yes. Kim calls that your flavor, right? Being your flavor. And I in so much agreement with you, Kat, with that, because your industry, actually all of our industries that we're our niches, we'll call it, are very niched, but we're not alone in it either. There's tons of moms who are building communities for other moms. But what sets me apart? What sets you, Kat, apart from being an online Pilates instructor or movement specialist from all of the other online specialists out there trying to make other people's lives better with health? And same with Kim and Denise with what you guys do. We're in so much competition, and that's where the loud noise gets in there, is what we think we need to be in competition instead of just supporting each other, because we are going to find people who like us for us and want to work with us because of how we are being impactful. Yeah. Kim, I don't know if you wanted to chime in.
I think I want to just take this a little bit, twist it a little bit, I'll just say.
Please.
Because I think being in business, you have to make money. That's to stay in business, you have to. But when you're getting through something, is what I'll call it, and you're trying to struggle through and you're not sure you're impacting anyone, and maybe the numbers aren't there yet or whatever it is, you have to go back to, what are you doing it for? I am extremely determined, in my life, but it comes from a great loss. And not to bring down the mood at all, but I have to add this in because a lot of my motivation for helping other people comes from the things that I needed help desperately, and I didn't have that support. So I look around at like the community we've built. It can get hard if you're hearing crickets, if people aren't engaging or people aren't, but you have to keep going if it's for the right intention. And I think that that's just a big part of it. I know how hard it is to start a business. I know how hard it is to keep going in business. I also know what it's like to go through a great loss of a child and grieve my way through business. Like, there are so many layers to us humans. So I think going back to am I here just for the transactions? Because I'm not. Transactions won't keep you here. The purpose behind it will. I don't want other entrepreneurs and business owners suffering, because I do believe there's suffering involved when it's so hard you can't provide for your family, or it's so hard that you're not able to sometimes get out of the bed in the morning because it's so overwhelming. So I think that that's another piece of this, getting through something. Y'all know how stubborn I am. I'm not quitting. But I agree that we we want to quit sometimes. An impact comes with a cost. It comes with a price. And I think we have to know that cost, and we have to be willing to pay that cost and keep going. And I don't want to impact one person. I'll just be very clear about this. I don't want to impact one person. I want to impact someone who goes off and repeats it and impact someone else. So I can go to the next person, and then that person can go out there, and then that like, you know, the ripples are real.
Mm-hmm.
And if we give up, we're telling everybody behind us, you can give up too.
Can I just add in something? When we say impact, sometimes we have to think about the impact on our own bodies, on our own psyche, on everything. So when you're going through a life issue, whatever that might be, you might be very quiet because you're trying to balance your life and your business. You don't want to quit your business, but you're going to pull back a little bit from your business to get through this life issue. And then you can go back to being loud if you want to. But I think you have to understand the impact of trying to go so fast in your business that when a life issue happens, you don't have the mental capacity to even do both. And so I think we have to understand that impact on ourselves also.
Mm-hmm. And when we take that into consideration, we do what you're saying, Kat, like where we start to work in our business more sparingly so we can work on ourselves too and take care of ourselves. That's impactful for others to see as well. You know, we start to be impactful in a whole different way we didn't expect to, because we are being more quiet in that rest time. And that's sometimes hard to accept for ourselves, to be like, no, I want to keep going, but no, you got to rest and take care of you too. So, yeah. Oh, amazing. This is making me realize that the impact that we have on others is not accidental. There are people watching us. There are people who need to hear our messages, to see our passion, to know where we're coming from and why we keep waking up every day and trying to get out of the bed to do the hard things. And like you said, Kat, you know, we're protecting ourselves as well along the way. We have to remember to continue to do that. But that all kind of comes together in order to make a real difference in someone's life. So there's going to be times where we have to say no, even when the world tells us that we should be doing something. I feel like that goes along with the pressures we have to be loud. So we should be saying yes to all of these things. You know, we should have a course. We should have a community. We should have this. We should be having all these kids, or we should have no kids, and we should work like a man, or we should, you know, all these things. So we don't always have to be doing those things. We need to be doing what's right for us, what's right for our bodies, what we can handle in our capacity, and what's right for those who need our help too. So I'd like to hear if there was ever something that you stopped doing because it was pure noise, because it was all these should-haves, and you realized you didn't have to. Mine was working all the time when having a newborn. I felt like I had to replace what I had lost by choosing to stay home and not have an income the way that I had before I had a child. And that should be able to provide for a whole family, like on my own shoulders, was not true, even though I told it to myself. So I had to get that out of my head, and I stopped doing that. I put up a lot of boundaries. There was a lot of my own noise in my own head, and no one else's. I promise you, nobody else was telling me that I had to work as hard as I was trying to work, but it was from what I had thought I needed to do because of what I saw others doing. So I had to stop doing that. And I put up a lot of boundaries, and now we aren't doing that. And it's still hard. right? Because there's still noise in my head, like, you should be doing more, especially now as I'm pregnant.
Well, you just brought up this memory, Jill, for me, where, as a single parent, money can be tight. So I felt like if I had a job and a half or 2 jobs, to bring in extra money. And even after my son was grown and, on his own, and I still felt, the way to get more money is to have more jobs.
Mm.
And finally, my husband said to me, he goes, "Why are you doing this?" And I couldn't answer him. It was just what I'd always done.
Mm.
And so I thought, okay, maybe I don't, and I don't know who told me I had to have, I think it was just this internal, when you have a child, because they're a little expensive, I'm just going to say, you feel as though you have to bring as much money in. And when you don't have a significant other doing that. So I got in my head that the more jobs I have, the more money I would have. But it didn't equal out because I was exhausted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to say, okay, what do I need to do to pull this down, make this not so evident? Because I would just work. And my husband loved that. But at the same time, I was tired all the time. And it just wasn't equaling out.
And for me, it was the noise that I had to go back to full-time work after I had been home with my family for a number of years. Fortunately, I could do that for a number of years. But I left the industry, and going back in, that's what I wanted. I wanted to go back. I wanted to use my brain again, do all those things. And then I got there, and it was the same as it had been before, and just started working 14-hour days and flying and doing all this stuff. And I made myself sick, basically. Love what I was doing, love the people I was helping, a lot of great things. But personally, I made myself sick with the stress and the intensity of it, and which is what I had done before too. So I got to do it twice, but but I finally had to just say that noise of that pressure that you have to climb, you have to be this constant on all the time. Once I saw my body say no, I was like, okay, you have to stop.
Yeah.
And you have to go and build a different life. And, that's what you get the reminder at some point where you're doing it. Inside it's going wrong, but you don't do anything to stop it. So you're not feeling great. You don't, all that stuff. And then you get sick and you're like, okay, I should have listened maybe last year. But yeah, it's hard.
It's funny how we don't believe our bodies sometimes.
So I think one of my best examples for stopping some noise was I was running really fast because in my head, and I don't know where this came from either, Kat, so I get the not knowing where something comes from. In my head, you had to run really fast and make more money, but I'd never slowed down to realize it was my bad money handling that was causing me to need to make more money. And so it was like this whole thing of, okay, hold on a minute. Why do we have to have this kind of house? Why do we have to have this kind of car? Why do we have to have this kind of income? Why, like, really analyzing where that was coming from, because I grew up in such a poverty-stricken way. I thought money was the answer. Like, when you don't have money, you think money is the answer. When you don't have time, you think, time is the answer. Whatever it is, you put your own thing in there. But I had to come to the revelation of, it was a big light bulb. Hey, if you handle your money better, you don't even have to make a tenth of what you're making. You would be prosperous. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. That can't be true. Hold on. I have to think about this. But I do think that that's true of a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. We come in wanting freedom, and then we create our own jail from it. We create our own prison bars around we can't stop or the machine will stop. And that's a lot of times because we're creating the wrong kind of businesses or the wrong kind of, schedules. Even we're putting on our calendar things that we can't, there's no way we can do, but we have wishful thinking. But I think that that's a noisy thing. When you're being driven to do something, that is a noise that is impactful in a negative way.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we're driven in that way, and that typically, in my eyes, feels like we're kind of being persuaded to put our energy into things that we don't need to be. Like, what was behind how we spent that money? Where was our energy going that we needed to put that money towards? Or how could we have shifted our day to not have a 14-hour day? Where was our energy going there? So even now, as I look at where I'm putting my energy, what helps us decide what's worth where we're putting it? What is that? And I know, Kim, you mentioned this in the very beginning part of what you saw with me, and that is that my priorities, and I think that's the same for all of us here, is that our priorities really help us determine where we're putting our energy, but also what isn't. How are we deciding what isn't worth our energy too? I don't know if you guys have anything different than our priorities to share what helps you make that decision.
Go ahead, Kat.
I was just going to say that again, it's a gut instinct. It used to be when I would have clients and I would have a free hour and I'm like, oh, I gotta fit somebody in there. And now I'm like, I could utilize that hour and do my social media, or I could just sit in what I call my other office, AKA my car, and just take a nice nap when my car's in the sun and just chill out. So again, my gut instinct is, oh, I want to feel that. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. What else could I do with that hour? Could I work out? Could I do something that is in the back of my head? I know it's got to get done when I get home. Could I do it now and have more free time at home? So I'm starting to really understand what I have to put forth, and do I have that energy to put forth to it? Do I have the energy to put towards another client? If I've been going back to back, it's from 7 to 12 with no break, and I get a break, I'm going to chill out. I'm going to eat something. I'm going to feel good. Or I can do that and still have a little time to maybe get an email off or do something that has been in the back of my head. So I learned all that from Kim, you guys, just saying.
I don't have any secret other than when I feel the tension, the memory comes back of what happened before, of how I got sick. And then that'll put the brakes on. And no matter what storm I'm in the middle of, it kind of just puts a little bit of a damper on it and just brings me back to, back to calm. So
I'm going to giggle and say that, if you don't count the cost of whatever the opportunity is or whatever the, choice is that you're going to make, it would be like going out on a, small budget, I'll just say, and planning to build your big mansion and not having enough material to finish it. Like, I think it's sad to drive by a lot of places. You can see where dreams died. You can see grass, hip high. You can see vines taking over warehouse buildings, or you can see broken and dilapidated roofs. And that was somebody's dream at one point. They didn't count the cost. Something happened in their life. There's a lot of reasons, but are you building something you can't maintain? And I'm talking life and business.
Yeah.
Are you saying yes to things, not counting what you're going to have to say no to? Are you saying yes to everything? Because that was how I was. Saying yes to everything because I wasn't counting the cost. I wasn't understanding if I stayed up till midnight, which I'm going to make a confession, Jill. I did this to myself last night, not years ago. I did this to myself last night. I needed to cook some things for a birthday. I was up till midnight last night. Here's the problem. I didn't plan it. I didn't plan it in my calendar right, or it would not have happened that way. And so I didn't count the cost of doing that last night. This is after years of counting costs and years of getting, better and better at this. So I want to basically speak to anyone watching who has got a better way and then gone backwards with it, because I think that happens to all of us. We're humans. I didn't want to disappoint this group of guys that were, celebrating this birthday. And I wanted to make sure that they knew my husband and I were very grateful for them. And so it made sense. The only problem was I never actually stuck it in my calendar. I never stuck it in and made a place for it, because in your calendar you gotta move things over to make a place for things. So even last night I broke my own rule of counting the cost. But that to me is a good example. I'm more tired today. I will go to bed earlier tonight. Like, there are things that had to shift because I chose that. But counting the cost for something and then seeing it broken in ruins, including our bodies, Kat, I will just name that out loud. Our bodies can be that broken place. Our house can be that broken place. Our car, our truck, our business, like our calendar, you can fill in the blank for so many things. If we don't count the cost and we don't spend some time making sure we're aware of the cost, I think that's what happens. It ends up in ruin.
Can I just add in that I think Denise had said something about her body paying the cost for some of the decisions. Your body will never lie to you, ever. So listen to your body. Okay, that is all for now.
Perfect.
Was that a soapbox moment? Was that a soapbox moment?
Yeah, it was a mic drop.
Public service announcement from Kat
Yep.
Cortana. Thanks, Kat.
We don't want to listen to our bodies sometimes. We think our brain knows better than our bodies, right? Well, we've talked about quiet power, small actions that make ripples, and the boundaries that protect our impact. And really, it all comes down to cost, right? That's been one of the major themes that have kept coming up. So I want to bring up now examples of where we may have seen these things lived out loud or lived in the quiet, right? So I wanted to know if there have been any women in our lives living this out every day. And if you can think of a woman who has impacted you in this way, it might be the same woman that you mentioned in the beginning. It might be somebody different. But after our conversation so far, I would love to give you guys a moment to honor the women who chose impact over noise and chooses it every day. And if you were watching live or on the replay, go ahead and drop the person that comes to mind for you in the chat. We'd love to honor them as well. So they may never go viral, but they have absolutely changed your life probably. So we'd love to tell us, if you would tell us how in like one sentence or so.
Ooh, pick me.
All right.
I have to say that everyone on this stage has impacted me in some form or fashion, in business and personal life. I think the person that comes to mind who rises to the top is Kim. And I say that only because she saw something in me that I didn't see in me. And she kept saying, "You can do this." And I was like, "No, I can't." She goes, "Yes, you can." And she kept telling me I could and inviting me to places where like I don't belong here because I didn't feel like that entrepreneur that she saw in me. And, it took me a few years. We had, the word entrepreneur and I had a long-standing relationship for years. And we finally tied the knot, but that's because of Kim. And now I can say, yes, I'm an entrepreneur and mean it. And it feels good to say. Before I was like, oh, yeah, I got a little thing over here. I'm doing this. Now it's like, no, this is my business. This is what I do. And Kim brought that out in me. She's the reason I'm loud. I'm just going to say.
In a good way. Loud in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way. She's freaking fabulous.
And a total rock star, I must say.
Yes.
So I just want you to know, Kate, you proved me right.
Oh, well, I'd pile on with Kim, but since that's already been said and she already knows that, I feel that way. So let's go. I wanted to say my sister, my younger sister, is the kind of person that connects with everybody, takes care of everyone, is involved in their lives and talks about their children and really supports people, but she does it so quietly you don't know it. All of her friends have been her friends for life. And, she's brilliant. She's works hard. She has her own family. She never asks for anything. And she just gives it all. And she's brilliant at it. And it's an amazing thing to see. So.
Okay, I'm going to go here and you guys just have to listen. I think the women, plural, that impact me the most are y'all. And the reason is courage is not about not being afraid. Courage is about doing something afraid. And whether you see in yourselves at the moment or not, the world sees like what I'm talking about all of you. I think that to me, you all inspire me daily because I watch you do things. I watch you learn things. I watch you help other people and support other people. I watch you be leaders. And to me, that is a huge impact. Living proof of what we're talking about today. No one may know what you do behind the scenes, but I'm watching because I know that all of you are doing huge, impactful things. You're impacting me. I will say that out loud. You are impacting me on the daily. So I am very proud of you all, and you all are my flavor.
Oh, thanks, Kim. Well, since we don't do dittos or samesies around here, I will say ditto, but also my person is my friend Sonia. And because she has had given up so much, taken so many sacrifices to get her mission across and make impact for so many people in not just New York State, but all across the US. I didn't know the sacrifices from very small until I was much older. And that has made more impact later in life than even knowing her from a young child. So she is my impactful person. But I loved hearing all of our stories today, these names. Thank you so much for sharing them out loud. It's a wonderful reminder that impact is already happening in a quiet way all around us. So before we wrap up, we just have a minute to go ahead and go around and say one last thing. I'd love to know if you can all give those watching and listening one small, quiet action you would want women to take away after today.
One small, quiet action is to put yourself first and your care first, and to step forward into believing what you feel in your body and paying attention to it.
I would say the one thing that women can do, we're so involved with everything from business and parenting and doing all the things that we forget about ourselves. And I would say write down a list that things that you've been wanting to do for you, not for anybody else, and pick your top 2, and then just investigate what that would look like for you and how you could put that into play.
Give yourself permission. Stop letting whoever they are that you're waiting for their permission. Give your own self permission to do the things you're dreaming about.
And my theme right now is awareness. So practice some awareness, what's going on within you, around you, what you want to happen for you. So thank you guys so much. I want to say also, if all you did this year was quietly change a handful of lives, that would matter deeply. So just remember that. Thank you for choosing impact over noise with us today. Take one thing you heard today and act on it this week if you can. And if you want more conversations like this, you can join us in the My Sexy Business community and subscribe to the My Sexy Business YouTube channel so you don't miss what's coming up next. We'll see you in the next place. Thanks, guys.
Love y'all.